You're listening to a Roddenberry podcast.
You know, why ease into a season one episode at a time when you can just drop two episodes all at once and keep us on our toes? It's Monday at 7 Pacific, 10 Eastern, and you are there and we are here, and that can only mean it's Mission Log Live. I'm John Champion.
And I am Charlene Schmidt, sitting in for Ashley Victoria Robinson, keeping the seat warm. Tonight, Star Trek Lower Decks is back for its fifth and final season, and we are kicking things off with the first two episodes, Dos Cerritos and Shades of Green. So click on that Zoom link, give us a call at 669-900-6833. Earl is here fending off any Orion pirate attacks in the Earl Green room, so give him a call and see how that's going. And again, just click on that Zoom link or give us a call at 669-900-6833.
I have total faith in Earl's abilities to fend off a
He's got this.
pirate attack. Even Orion pirate attacks. I think he can handle those just as well, but I don't know. Maybe not for sure. Thank you, by the way, for keeping the seat warm for our very own Ashley Victoria Robinson, who will be joining us. Couldn't make it tonight, but throughout the season as we cover the final season of Lower Decks. We will mostly have me and Ashley, but I'm so glad that you will be dropping in, and I love what you and Ashley did last week, so good things all around.
Hey, yeah, thank you again for having me back, number one. And then last week with Ashley Thomas was such a blast. She jumped right in on her very first Mission Log Live. We had a good time psyching up for this last season of Lower Decks, or at least last that we're aware of. I still have hope.
Yes, yeah, no kidding. By the way, time to just say hello to some friends who are in the audience, and I apologize because my Restream chat isn't working, so I'm just jumping over to Facebook to take a look. Jessica Lynn Verdi, again, talk about part of the team there. Jessica, good to see you there. Paul Wright. Let's see, we got Jim. We got two Pauls. We may have a Paul Fecta tonight. I don't know. I know that's always very
It's
exciting.
not a show till we get the Paul Fecta. Come on, Pauls.
It really is. And by the way, you mentioned that it's kind of an extra long episode. And that is the way that we're treating it. So we're treating it as if it's just one big show, right?
I mean, that's kind of what they gave us, right? Was double the episodes, double the fun.
So everybody should just feel free to jump in with their thoughts on either one. We'll treat the recap as, well, two parts, but obviously with a lot of connective tissue in there. Hi also to David Takechi, Heather, Scott, Alan, Carlos, Jane, Brett, John Arminio, Mark Welch, a lot of familiar faces there. Glad to see you all. I will do my best to stay on top of the chat, but no promises, so we'll see.
I do have to note that our very own BC, aka Brian, is also in the chat via YouTube. So hey,
did he do the thing? He did the thing? Didn't he
did.
He did the thing.
You know he did.
Of course, yeah. I know he did. All right. Well, I tell you what, before we get into the recap and get into your calls, I do want to mention what is coming up this week on Roddenberry Podcast. Very exciting week for me this week on Mission Log. Do not miss our discussion of the Star Trek Voyager episode Equinox, because welcome back to Norman Lau. So glad that Norman, my brother in sound, was able to join me for Equinox 1 and 2 and some other upcoming episodes. Now, we are covering this Voyager two-parter in two podcast episodes. Wherever it makes sense, we try to do two-parters as one if they thematically work together. But in this case, really felt like there was a lot going on, needed to break it up. And that way you get double dose of Norman. So very happy about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Why not keep going with a good thing there? But Equinox. Oh, I can't wait to dig into that on After
it's
Dark.
So good. I know. And I bet you'll have a lot to say. End of season 5 of Voyager, and then the week after will be the start of season 6 of Voyager with Equinox Part 2. And while you're waiting around for those, may I point your attention to Genealogy, our show that covers all of Gene Roddenberry's non-Star Trek works, because Earl and Ashley have dug up a lost episode of Boots and Saddles. Literally, it is one that we did not have in our archive. So you can hear all about it. You can hear the story of tracking it down. The episode is The Rescue of the Strangers. So go check it out at missionlogpodcast.com. And Shar, what else is coming up with Roddenberry Podcasts?
Well, tomorrow, aka Tuesday, it's dropping on Tuesday.
Mhm.
We're going to drop a new episode where me and Marina Kravik, I cannot talk. Oh wow, Marina Kravchuk and I swear, yeah, we are dropping our episode on Brink and getting very close to the season 2 finale of Prodigy. Oh my gosh, it's
I
gone by so
know.
fast.
Pretty
And
amazing.
I know. Okay. And we also have coming up on the Trek Files, the second conversation with Star Trek director Paul Lynch with some great behind the scenes stories from TNG and DS9. And you just informed me of this. I was not aware that he was the person who, after the pilots, did the first regular shots for both of those shows.
Yeah, that is a big deal, is that when you are the director to come in after the pilot and then you set the tone. I mean, you have to get this whole thing up and running so you can prove that you can make weekly television. And Paul Lynch has got some great stories. I don't want to spoil it, but if you're a DS9 fan in particular, check out Paul's take on walking into the show with that cast and kind of like who knew their stuff and who didn't. Like who was ready and
Ooh.
who wasn't. Yeah.
Oh, a
Very
little bit.
revealing. Uh-huh.
Okay. We have that to look forward to. That'll be
Very
fantastic.
revealing. Exactly.
Nice. Well, you can catch all of this great stuff at podcast.roddenberry.com. And then also make sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You're already here. So just press the
Hopefully
buttons and do
so.
the thing, please. It helps us out.
Exactly. All right. Well, with all that said, why don't we get right into the recap? We're just going to slam both these together for Dos Cerritos and Shades of Green. So, if you will indulge me.
Do it.
In Dos Cerritos, the USS Cerritos finds itself in an alternate reality with a parallel Cerritos crew that includes a surprisingly different captain, an alternate version of Mariner known as Becky Freeman, and she is a feared taskmaster. The crews of both ships soon realize that they are nearly identical, yet shaped by different life choices as they work together to send the Prime Cerritos back to its own universe. Each crew member works with an uncanny version of themselves. Boimler is impressed by his alternate's confidence and command experience, while Rutherford sees a version of himself who has traded personality and missing Tendi for peak efficiency. Meanwhile, the Prime Mariner clashes with her commanding counterpart and questions her own ability to lead. The two crews ultimately succeed in reopening the quantum fissure, despite Alt Mariner's scheme to switch places, sending the Cerritos home and leaving Mariner with a renewed commitment to finding her own path. Meanwhile, Tendi is on an adventure with an Orion crew to recover an ancient Orion ship as a means to settle her debts. Things go a bit pear-shaped as Tendi tries to manage her crew's violent tendencies while simultaneously battling a rival team of Orions, or Orions. It depends on where you're from and if you're blue or not. Forced into a firefight, Tendi eventually convinces her team to embrace their personal dreams, ranging from the power of dance to teaching ethics, revealing her own desire to follow a path that does not involve needless violence. However, her non-lethal tactics backfire with the rival Orions, who declare war on Tendi and the Greens. Ultimately, Tendi has to decide between returning to Starfleet or staying to clean up the mess, choosing to stay and face the new challenge head on. Onward to Shades of Green. Devana Tendi reconnects with her Orion roots alongside her sister Derica as they plot their next move against the Orions in a holographic simulation. Things take a serious turn when Tendi notices something off with Derica. After some snooping, she figures it out. Derica is pregnant. She's soon interrupted by the Orion pirate queen, who demands that Tendi's house and rival house Azure, those are the Blues after some rebranding, resolve their feud in a high-stakes sail ship race. Meanwhile, on Targalis 9, the Cerritos crew is helping the planet transition from a post-scarcity society by dismantling its old capitalist infrastructure. Boimler enthusiastically doles out Boimler's bointers to his unimpressed team of ensigns, while Mariner teases him for trying too hard to be the fun boss. It's all fun and games until the ensigns get kidnapped by a couple of holdover capitalist enthusiasts, leading Boimler and Mariner to take chase. The ensigns are dead. Well, not really. They followed a bointer to fake their deaths in the eyes of their incompetent captors and even more incompetent robots. The sailship chases on, but Divana's overprotection of her sister leads to the sweetest mutiny you've ever seen. A cutiny, in fact. The truth comes out, and Derica reveals that she was keeping the secret from Divana as a matter of protection so she could return to Starfleet and not stick around to train the new mistress of the Winter Constellations. So the mutiny is over, and Derica will be fine. It looks to be lost by the Tendi crew when the Azures play dirty and take a shot at them, causing a crash on an asteroid. Team Tendi gets fired up again, though, when Divana deploys the backup rigging as a comet flies by. The race is back on, but Tendi effectively contrives a tie, which infuriates the Pirate Queen, taking away the treasure of all those involved. No hard feelings, though. Tendi is free to go back to Starfleet, and her family are relieved of the burden of extraordinary wealth. Back on the Cerritos, it's a happy reunion when Tendi returns. Telen even destroyed the shuttle she had completed just so Rutherford and Tendi can bond during the time it will take to repair it all from scratch. And about that post-scarcity society, Cerritos has all their capitalist junk. You know, jewels, precious metals, and the like. Tendi has the bright idea to see if her family can take it off their hands, thus restoring their wealth and tightening up the relationship between Starfleet and the Orions. The end.
Nicely done. You basically rolled 2 episodes into one recap.
I did. That was a lot. Thank you all for your patience. Greatly appreciated. And I love it that we already have people waiting for us to chat and give us their takes on the show. First, though, I have to ask you, Shar,
Yeah?
I mean, your immediate takes on the episodes, any quick hits you want to drop by me?
Well, okay, we got to talk about Becky. The name
Yes.
Becky. Oh my God.
Uh-huh.
Becky. That's what I think of anytime I hear the name Becky. It's that intro to Sir Mix-a-Lot's Baby Got Back.
Right.
And it's
right,
just,
right.
yeah. My sister and I had
my
a thing
God.
where if we got frustrated with one another, it just, oh my God, Becky, so it was like that. Also, Bearded Boimler,
Yes.
definitely. I
He's
have
so
a question
cool.
for you. He is cool. He grew the beard
He
and
did.
does a reverse Riker maneuver. Now, are we going to call that the Boimler maneuver?
I love that so much. I did put it in my notes, the reverse Riker, but I think the Boimler maneuver, or it's all
Ooh.
Boimler, it's cool Boimler. And I
Yeah.
like that our Boimler is trying in the next episode to grow out the stash. It's just not
Facial hair is
happening.
a theme so far this
It
season.
is. It is. By the way, in the chat, Dave Taylor says, fear the Becky. Yeah. And then Dave Takechi says, so my brother-in-law's sister was named Becca Freeman until she got married. It was weird to hear that. I bet.
I bet.
And Jim says bearded Boimler equals Riker Boimler. So he's got a little more of the Riker in him,
Okay. All right. I mean,
Yeah.
that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do like to a point. Like I've been very torn on how much I've liked having 2 episodes in 1 week, where I kind of wish I'd
Yeah.
spread it out just because these are the last 10 that we have coming up for the foreseeable future.
know.
But they also work really well together, as your recap showed. And then also thematically, there's some really great stuff tying this all together. I'm really glad that they did not just rush Tendi getting back to the Cerritos, but they're also not stalling it.
Right. And that what I feel is really the important part here is to have these two. We need to complete the Tendi arc, but we want to give it some weight. We don't want to just like suddenly wrap up. Like, give it time, let her complete everything. I thought that was paced really nicely across these two and as a holdover from last season. So let's hear what some of our listeners have to think about all of this. Let's welcome to the show our own Chris B. Chris, what is up?
Hello, good to
Hey,
see you
Chris.
guys.
How
Yes,
are you?
this is very good. I'm doing well. It's very nice to have Lower Decks back. It's like seeing an old friend. Like you turn it on, you're like,
Yes,
oh,
Yeah.
this. I remember this. This is
there we
great.
go. There we
Yes, it
go.
was really good getting those two episodes. Like you guys were saying, I think it's a really nice kind of like place setter for this final season in which we're setting up, I think, kind of the main arcs that everyone's gonna go through. Like everyone's sort of like what I want to say, like the thing they have to overcome, right? Boimler has always wanted to be cool. Mariner has always dealt with sort of like this duality within herself. And so I
Right.
think especially the first part with the alt universe is a really good way to kind of like set up all of these things that they're going to have to overcome in these final 10 episodes. But yeah, it's a
Mm.
really good opener. I love Tendy's stuff. I love Tendy's jacket. God, I want Tendy's jacket so bad. Like so bad.
It
All
looked
these little details that they had in the alt crew versus our crew, because okay, yeah, of course with Boimler, it's very obvious he's got the beard and he's got this kind of swagger, and with Otherford, I love he's got the much more Borg like look, but even just a little thing like Ransom's hair. It's like one Ransom, he's got more hair up here. The other Ransom, he's got more of the mullet going on back here. Like
Mullet Ransom.
Mullet
Yeah, that one
Ransom.
threw me.
That needs to be an action figure stat.
I
Yes.
agree. Oh, and speaking of merch opportunities, how about those fuzzy slippers? Why are those
Okay.
not for sale right now?
That okay. Did was I the only one who thought was that the unicorn dog from The Enemy Within? When I saw that, they kind of flashed by,
My
and I
God.
went, ooh, 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 ooh. So somebody in the chat or somewhere, please correct me if I'm wrong, but that's
Oh
what I saw.
no.
That's my headcanon now. And if that doesn't exist, somebody make that exist because we definitely need unicorn dog fuzzy slippers, please.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. What else, Chris? What do you got?
I really like it's a smaller thing, but I like that we're returning to the fact that Billups grew up on the Renfair planet. That like we haven't
Yes,
dropped that. That Alt Billups
yes.
has succeeded to the throne. He's got the diadem and the cape, and then in episode two, just
Gabe.
the throwaway line about
The
yeah, man, I got it,
dragon.
the dragon, and Rutherford's just like good
Yes.
luck with that. And he just leaves.
Yeah.
That's such a
That was
good little
hilarious.
moment. I'm like, oh, I love that. So yeah, that was nice. Yeah.
Incredible. That was such good stuff. Um, so, I mean, we're so early in it. We're only two episodes into a 10 episode run. And people in the chat definitely, I echo you when you say this should have been longer than a 10 episode season for sure. For sure. Chris, it's probably too early to say, but I think I already know the answer that 5 seasons is not enough.
Oh no, we definitely need more. I mean, I'm sure this is going to be wonderful. Like I can see the pieces coming together, and I can already like know. Like I'm very confident Mike and the team are going to stick the landing here. But
Yeah,
yes, I will always take more lower decks till the day I die. It's just that easy. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Same, Chris. Same. If we had unlimited money and could just let Mike McMahon and the voice cast do whatever they wanted for as long as they wanted, I'd eat up every minute of it.
I kind of another note that I left to myself, and granted, this is with some distance from the show because it's been a while since we had a season 4. And by the way, yeah, just to remind everybody, of course, we didn't get to do season 4 on Mission Log Live, but the gears are turning. We're thinking about ways to come back to that. So we will figure that out. But there was something that I really liked about the pacing in these two episodes, the way that they handled the humor. Because if you remember way back, season 1, season 2, going into season 3, probably, a lot of times the humor kind of bothered me because they would do the joke, then they would tell the joke, then they would explain the joke and sort of not back away from it. This was one of those episodes, both of these were episodes where I felt like the jokes just occurred. And if you were on board with it, great. And if you didn't, it still worked. So I really love the way they handled all these little references, like, well, like Cool Boimler doing the reverse Riker maneuver. You didn't need to say anything. I feel like season one Lower Decks, they would have made a big deal out of that and explained to you how this is the opposite of what Riker does, because Riker's really cool and Cool Boimler really idolizes Cool Riker and blah, 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 blah. But we didn't do that. We just let it happen. We move on. All is good. So I'm on board.
Also, to sort of echo that, I think they've gotten really good at doing not just like the fun Easter egg joke, but taking the joke that like builds off the character or the story they're telling. Like I think about all of Talin's bits in episode 2 are just rooted in Talin being the Vulcan who wants to be part of the squad, but she can't really be part of the squad because like her Vulcanness like can't be. Oh no, whatever shall we do? Like that's all a character joke. That's not like a callback. And so I think they've gotten really good about that, and that's also made a lot of it better.
Yep, 100%. Yeah, the characters are generating their own things, and it happens organically from within that universe. Although, what I really also appreciate when we get around to episode 2 is just the hammering home of how much TAS exists in this universe.
Oh, heck yeah.
And again, you don't need to do a big deal out of it. And if you never watched TAS, that's fine. All this stuff just happens in the story. But if you watch TAS, there's a lot to appreciate here. So,
yeah, honestly, it's inspiring me to go back and watch TAS, do a rewatch, because it's been a very long while.
I rewatched The Pirates of Orion last night. Really enjoyed it. I mean, look, it's a very different experience from watching Lower Decks, obviously, but it was still a lot of fun. Chris, if you don't have any parting shots, we'll go over to Brandon, who's waiting patiently.
Yeah, I think that's it. I mean, it's just good to be back with you guys. It's good to be back on the Cerritos, and I'm looking forward to this next couple months. It's going to be a good time.
Take care, man. Likewise.
Good to see you.
Yeah.
Be good. All right, let's hop over to Brandon. How's it going?
Hey guys, it's going pretty great. I am so happy to have Lower Decks back. Man,
I think we're going to hear that a lot tonight.
Yeah, I think so too.
It's been a whole thing of like I partially as a new parent, I have no concept of time, so I'm like, was it last year? Was it earlier this year that we had Lower Decks? Were they all last week? I don't know when I am, but it has felt like so long, and hearing everybody else say that makes me feel like maybe it's not just that I don't understand what time is anymore. And they came back just and didn't miss a beat. I loved these episodes. I thought they did. Alternate universe can be great or can be really bad. And I feel like they just really sort of nailed it. And, one of the things that my wife has said to me after watching, she doesn't watch them, Lower Decks as just sort of, I watch all of them. She pops in every so often and catch an episode with me. And what I love is when she watches an episode and she says, oh my God, that was just like a next gen episode. Like the message was just right there. It was a next gen episode, but funny. And I thought that they had some really great messages in here. I mean, obviously they had these awesome scenes with Talin. I thought was absolutely just a riot through all of these. I laughed when Erica said just drop it to Tendi, because I was like, that has almost I cannot imagine that has ever worked. Ever.
Right.
But
it's when someone says, "Oh, I'm fine." No, they're not.
Right.
Or I have a friend who will say, "Don't worry about it," and that means you should worry about it immediately and constantly until you find out what's going on.
Yeah.
But like, they had really beautiful messages in here that I really liked, particularly from Rutherford's story, which I saw that and I heard the moral of, if you try to flee from your grief and the things that distress you, you're going to have to keep running and running, or in Rutherford's case, modifying and modifying.
Right.
And if you ever manage to outrun the pain, and you probably won't, but if you ever manage to outrun the pain, you may well and truly have lost yourself at that point.
That's Really
Bingo. Well
well
said.
said. Yeah, there was something that I really liked about this that okay, you have the big story long arcs, and of course throughout the whole run of Lower Decks, we've had these big character arcs like when will Mariner really find herself and figure out her path? And when will Boimler get over himself, get out of his own way to become the officer that he should? But even in these two episodes, you have all these like micro lessons throughout. So episode to episode, there are these mini arcs that I think are really satisfying. Like, well, like you said, Rutherford having this moment of discovery with Otherford, and T'Len doing this, act of humanity, this act of compassion, hilariously so, destroying the shuttle because she sees the
Yes.
value in human bonding. Like, this was all lovely stuff that works. And literally, when you slice it out, you're talking about episodes that are 22 minutes. And then you jump to the scenes that are just that particular character arc. And you're talking about telling this complete story in about 4 minutes. It is great.
That's wild when you think of it that way.
Amazing.
Right? It really speaks to the efficiency of the writing and how strong the characters are identifiable for us, that it works. You believe it. You believe their reality immediately. It's really, really nicely done like that.
I thought so.
Love that.
Yeah. What else, Brandon?
Well, I really liked Tendy's stories, not just because I think that they're really funny. Seeing Tendi, the juxtaposition of Tendi as super goody two shoes, Starfleet junior officer, and mistress of the winter constellations is just fantastic. And I really liked that that her story showed the solution to her problems was and the problems that she and her family were facing was to embrace who she was and not try to fight either of them. She is a goody two shoes in Starfleet, and she is the mistress of the winter constellations, and trying to suppress either one of those doesn't really end up working out. But when she is just, this is who I am and this is what I can do, she's a badass.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. She's had a fantastic arc just in these episodes alone, really bringing that whole thing full circle. Why not both? She fought so long to be kind of anti-Orion. Like I'm not into that part of my culture, but here she is, maybe possibly transforming it and bringing new ideas to the fold, and that might be really cool.
Love that. By the way, I want to jump over the chat really quickly because Carlos knows what's up. He says the writing is tight like a tiger, so he knows. And Jim posits, is it just me or did anyone else think that T'Len may have switched with her counterpart?
Yes. This is in my notes.
Ooh.
I think that the alternate universe, we're not done with that yet.
Okay. All right. We're going to come back to all of that. And Brandon, actually, unless you've got a parting shot here, we'll jump over to our mid-show break really quickly because I saw much gnashing and wailing from the green room, who's waiting in the Earl green room. So we'll do our break and then we'll go to Paul here in a moment.
No, absolutely. Now I'm going to go spend a lot of time thinking about whether T'Len switched because hadn't thought of that, and that is going to bake my noodle.
Excellent. All right.
Good to see you, Brandon.
Good to
Good
see
to
you.
see you guys.
Hey, all right. So while we've got a second here, I do want to remind everybody to join us over at Mission Log Patreon because that is your key to get into the Mission Log Discord. And oh my God, so much happening in the Mission Log Discord. And not just the Epicureanism channel where I posted easily like 10 photos a day of food that I've been eating in the South.
It's true. You've been keeping it very busy, but in the best way.
Oh my God, a lot of good stuff. We'll do a whole other show about that. But what I want to talk about is week after week, it amazes me how much cool stuff is happening in our live chats. Now, Shar, you are on top of one of our most popular, and that is the Zocalo. Tell us what's coming up there, by the way.
Sure. Yeah, this is a B5 weekly discussion group we have every Friday, and we have some first-timer watchers. We've got some old vets like myself, and we've been going through every single episode of Babylon 5. We're currently on season 5. We're going to discuss Secrets of the Soul this coming Friday, so that ought to be interesting. And it is
Excellent.
a lot of fun. The first timers' reactions, it's like watching kids at Christmas, watching them discover this show that you think you know so well, and they come out with something fresh. And you think about something that you've been thinking about a million times before in a completely different way.
Oh, I love
It's
that.
so
my
much
favorite,
fun.
It's my favorite thing about doing Mission Log is just getting different takes on things. I love it. Well, you've been
Yeah.
knocking it out of the park with the Zocalo. We also have international chat because we have friends all over the world, and I love that Matthew runs that. For me, it's like 3 o'clock in the morning Pacific time on Sundays, but that happens. You've got Twilight Zone chat, also headed up by Matthew. Mission Log After Dark every Thursday afternoon. So after the regular Mission Log drops, we all get together and pick that apart. Cannot wait for your hot takes there, Shar. And then
You
we've
know they're
also-
coming.
Of course. We've got Kon-Tiki, which is our hangout, and also a place to kind of talk about what is happening in the real world. So meetups, hangouts, conventions. Kon-Tiki is a great place to discuss that. And finally, Mark Gledhill, one of our patrons and supporters over at Discord, he has been hosting Bondatory, our James Bond discussion on Monday nights. Coming up next week and the weeks after, you have your top 5 Bond, you got music of Bond, and then you have your favorite items from Q Branch. Then Mondays will switch over to Battlestar Galactica on December 2nd. That all starts at 6 p.m. Pacific, so that is your perfect lead-in to Mission Log Live. And thank you, Mark, for being on top of those. Remember, you can join us for all of those and all the other perks at patreon.com/missionlog. That gets you in the door to our Discord. We cannot wait to see you there. All right. Can't wait any longer because you saw what I saw, and that was in the Earl Green room, Tendi hanging out behind Paul, and Paul
Yeah.
absolutely, there was waving of hands talking about T'Lyn. Paul, what's up tonight, my friend?
The elephant in the room. Can you hear me? I hope. The
Oh, yeah, I
elephant
can
in the
hear you
room.
perfectly.
You know, we made it through 22 minutes, and I'm thinking, I got this. And then it comes in. The elephant in the room is which I can see these two just going, we need to do this and swap so they can learn more, right? And then maybe later it becomes a very important thing that they know each other. Who knows what lurks?
Who knows? It might have just been a joke, but I really can't believe that yet. Not until we've seen all 10 episodes and they didn't make anything else of it, because this show loves to twist a little more than that.
Maybe, what if that's the payoff? What if the payoff is we have to wait 8 more episodes, and at the very end of episode 10, there's a some tip of the hat to this being the wrong T'Lyn, and that's it.
Or
That's it.
or worse, John, knowing this McMahon character, what if we've been in the wrong universe all the time?
Oh my God.
Oh no! Oh, Paul!
Oh
What
no.
if these
I
are
love
the
to
mirror?
hate that idea.
Yeah, what if these are all the mirror Trek people, and that the next show is actually mirror Lower Decks, right?
Oh my gosh!
Whoa. Okay, that could be. Look, as much as I hated spending as much time as we did in the mirror universe in Discovery, this I could actually see working.
And you could see McMahon writing this, can't you?
I could
It's just-
absolutely see
sure.
that happening.
and he'll make it a little less, just it's brilliant. The whole thing has just been brilliant so far, and people are going to talk about the moral lessons, and just such good stuff comes out of this show, and it's innocent yet until it isn't, right? Like he just
Yes.
drops those little nuggets here and there. But as a person who loves uniqueness in the spaceships and that kind of realm, as a model maker kind of person, I certainly have to model the two Cerritos, on top of each other, going
That's such a cool visual, isn't
that was
it?
very
And
cool.
there's a cool model kit coming out this fall of the Cerritos. As soon as they close the season, out comes the model kit.
Oh, so you get Dos Cerritos and do the
we'll do
thing. Oh, that'll be
Absolutely.
fun.
That'll be fun. But
So cool.
the sailing ship race, how great is that? The big balloon or parachute kind of look, and then the square kind of solar thing, and then of course the people cheating. And how timely is it that we actually have a comet in the sky,
Perfect.
and
yes,
they get saved by a comet, and not only do they get saved by the comet, the tie is the win. What kind of moral lesson is that for us in these days? That, come to the middle, figure this out.
Yes.
Oh, it's
Whoa.
just brilliant
What
timing.
a concept.
Yeah, it's brilliant timing. I can't say enough good things about this show. Entertainment value wise, lesson wise, they've gotten away from the really hit you in the face kind of adult content, which they were doing early. They aren't explaining the jokes, much as you said. And John, just brilliant recap, by the way. I didn't realize you were doing both episodes, and before you know it, poof, there it was.
There they were.
Poof, if only it just appeared, right, John?
Right. Nice. I love the sort of the tip of the hat to DS9 by having the solar sail ship. I thought that was wonderful.
1,000%.
And I want to go back to the mirror universe thing here for just a moment, because I feel like this is the joke that we made on Mission Log so often. Like, why is the mirror universe this one thing that is always evil? What about the mirror universe? It's just off by a little bit. As somebody wrote to us, it's the mirror universe where everything is the same. It's just 6 inches to the left.
That's what you
That's
had.
it. That's it. And that's what we got. And I love exploring that. Why not? Because I feel like that other mirror universe can't exist. It can't sustain itself. This one can.
Too many people kill each other.
Right. But this one will work. This one absolutely works.
Yeah, Becky does work.
Becky does work. Yeah. She wants to go backwards. She doesn't want to go forward with the meanness.
She wants to regress.
Yeah. So I'm going to leave you with this. Oh, go ahead, John.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead. I do have some closing remarks, though.
Okay. I just wanted to put in a shout out for our little part of the Discord place, which is Kontiki this Wednesday. For those of you, who are members and those who might be interested, our good friend Jim McMahon over in the chat challenged us all to do Star Trek wordplay for this particular, Wednesday. Come on and join us and bring your best wordplay, such as Picard, any card. I won't tell. Or that's Jim's, but the one my wife came up with today was Nimbus 7. So
nice.
Come join us on Wednesday, 9 o'clock.
Done.
And Shar, it's up to you. And then on to John.
Hey, by the way, Paul, I really appreciate the logo on your shirt, because I see what it says, but the shape, of course, is the champion logo.
Champion Spark Plug logo.
Yes.
I need to represent my city when I'm on a national audience, a proud Michigander living outside of Detroit. We don't take BS from anybody.
That's you go.
Well represent and just don't disparage my town.
Well said, my friend. Take
I'll
care.
Sick the lions on you.
Great night.
All right. See you guys.
See ya.
Shar,
I got to give a lot of credit
to
to Paul. Last week, he basically did the advert for the Mission Log Discord last week.
Amazing.
I was just going to have him say a couple of nice things, but he kept on going, and I'm like, why screw up a good thing? You were on a roll, Paul. And I think we owe him a check now, John.
I think so. I think you're right. Yeah.
So
working on it.
That was my fault. I'm sorry, but Paul he just took it and ran, man.
I love it. I love when that happens.
You did such a good job. I had no time to just step in there and like, okay, I got you, dude. I got you. No. You had it. You had it.
I love it. Oh, by the way, before we go to John Arminio here, real quick, David in the chat says, I have a very important question. I wish I could do a poll, but he can't in the chat. So responses are good. Prime Universe Lower Decks uniform or Parallel Universe Lower Decks uniform, and go. So curious to hear what people say. We can always move that over to the Discord as well and let that be a running thing. Curious to hear what people
well, John, okay, I got to ask you real quick. Which do you prefer? Because I kind of like the bolder color palette.
Oh, me too. I 100% like the bolder colors. So yeah, I'm team alternate. What is it? A .037 variants alternate
Something
universe,
like that,
and that's how they're going to find T'Lyn. That's how they're going to figure it out. It's going to be that .037 variants. Yeah.
Watch us predicting the future.
Guarantee you. All right. Let us talk to our friend, John Arminio. John, thank you again so much for joining me on Mission Log a few weeks ago. Really appreciate it. And glad to see you again.
Absolutely my pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah. So what's happening and what's on your mind tonight about Lower Decks?
First, I'm pro alternate universe uniforms if that comes with required mullets.
So you're in favor of the mullets?
Yes. More
Okay.
mullets, please.
Mandatory Starfleet issue mullet.
Yeah,
That okay.
we're all gonna play hockey, get hockey hair.
Mm-hmm.
Billy Ray Cyrus was really big in that universe.
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. That's
There you go.
that's the variance. He had a 400-year career.
Oh God.
We're still listening to Achy Breaky Heart.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Yikes.
So I loved both of these episodes, and just the opening of Shades of Green, where they're talking about the fall of capitalism and the institution of a post-scarcity economy.
Yes.
I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
This
figure
is-
that would resonate. Yeah.
my jam right
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Because we haven't really had that in Star Trek, where we're seeing the transition from a capitalist system to a post-scarcity economy, because it's sort of like hand-waved how an economic system can go from a for-profit motive to motiveless,
Right.
and how that might be a little chaotic, and it's still a little, like bright and sunny, and the most chaotic thing is like, well, we're burning money,
Right.
2 thumbs up, but
right.
and we get a little bit of like light terrorism, I guess, from
Yeah.
Little bit,
finance
yeah.
bros. But I was really happy to see, Lower Decks, this 22-minute animated show, tackle one of the most complicated economic theories that Star Trek has posed in its 55-year history. I thought that was fascinating.
I think just the very idea that they did it, like
Yeah.
obviously it is incredibly incomplete, but it's one of those things that in that 55 plus year history, in the 800 plus hours of Star Trek, we've never actually seen it happen. And it's the kind of thing that fans talk about. Like, well, wait a minute. Do they not have money, but things still have value? How does this happen? What happens when you encounter a culture that has monetary systems, blah, blah, blah. And we talk about, we nerd out about it, and we argue about it when it comes to reflecting our own culture, which is perfectly fine. Those arguments are all valid. But just acknowledging it on screen, like here's
Yeah.
a thing that happened on this day, and here's where it causes great celebration and great complication. I think that was all wonderful, because then it just puts it right back in our hands. Oh, no, wait. What if you showed up with enough replicators? What if they all agreed? But what if some people didn't agree?
Yeah.
I think that was great.
Yeah,
It's
so-
great
and-
that they just introduced it.
So
Yeah.
realistic.
And are there like Orions and Ferengi just sort of like lurking behind Federation, or like
Just
worlds
ready-
applying for the
You don't
Federation?
need
just
that
like,
anymore.
could we get some of
Right.
those gems
Yes.
now that you're not
Right.
using them anymore?
Yes.
Wouldn't you want those to be recycled into the replicator? Because no, you don't need them, but they could create energy for you, so you
Yeah.
could replicate new things.
But see, here's why I kept wondering, like, is what did she call it? She didn't call it de-replication, but it would be like something.
Like
to
matter
basically-
reintegration or something like that?
Yeah. Basically to take it and throw it back in the machine. And I thought, well, is it better to do that with gold press latinum, or at least the gold bars that they had there? Why wouldn't you do that with, hydrogen, the most
Yeah,
abundant
or garbage.
substance? Garbage, seawater, dirty seawater from some dirty seawater planet. It seems like there are other ways to do it.
That sounds like something we might see in a future episode. Dirty seawater planet.
I'm putting money on it. That's what I want.
I
That'll
guess
be the environmentalism episode.
maybe
Yes.
part of the dismantling of capitalism is sort of the like Fight Club theory of economic reform, where you just destroy all capital, and so no one can hoard wealth or resources anymore. Just
Right.
melt all the gold and turn it into grain or something.
Right. Exactly.
But I
Uh,
did like how
yeah.
in this episode, that dealing directly with piracy, the other plot is former capitalists
Yeah.
trying to hang on to power. So,
Yes. Yes. And again, only a few minutes of them. And
Yeah.
I'm so charmed by their incompetence and their cowardice. And of course, their robots are great. I fully expect, Chris, don't get any ideas, but I fully expect to see like costumes of those robots, the people showing
Yeah.
up in those. And of course, the blues, the azures. I expect to see those too. Paul, you're absolutely right. New band, Dirty Seawater Planet. Yep, make it
Sure.
happen.
Yeah.
Make it happen. John, before we go to our last two callers, any other thoughts?
That album, the Dirty Seawater Planet's first album, should be called Gardening with Disruptors.
Oh my God! Yes,
Yes.
yes.
That is a win.
You win.
Okay.
You win the internet tonight. Bravo. Well done. Well
I
done.
appreciate that.
All right, John, a pleasure as always,
Thank
and
you, sir.
we will hop over to Alan and say hi.
All right. Take
All
care, man.
right, take care, John. Alan, what is up tonight?
It's a great night. Glad to be here with you guys. It's always a pleasure to come after John. Such great ideas. Now I'm picturing fleets of Orions and Ferengi following Federation ships around, kind of like the guys who have to follow the horse in the parade, maybe.
Yes, pretty much.
The cleanup
Pretty
crew.
much.
And of
Yes.
course, I just mentioned this while we were waiting, but speaking of the matter reclamation, we all remember what the apples are made of, right, guys?
We sure do.
Yep. You brought it up. Yeah. Love that. Love that.
So, yeah, great episodes. Love it.
I want to ask. Yeah, they were so good, and I do want to ask a couple of questions here. This one may, I don't know, maybe I immediately went to kind of a dark place on this, but there was something in Shades of Green where Rutherford is talking to Talen about how it's not about building the shuttle and being efficient. It's about the social time. And I thought, okay, that's really sweet, but also really not cool if it's not welcome. So we have to, I mean, clearly Tendi and Rutherford adore each other. And that is part of all of us shipping that since season 1. I get it. At the same time, it just seems like, okay, wait a minute. How many of these moments are we manufacturing here to, because at a certain point, it's like, no, I really just need to get my work done and move on. So
Yeah, but like you said, they adore each other, and so
they do.
I do think it's mutually time well spent.
Yeah. Okay. All
Yeah,
right. Fair.
it works. It works in the context of their relationship. I don't know if it's healthy for anybody else, but for them, it's cool.
Okay.
Maybe,
Like, yeah,
maybe,
it would be
maybe
torture.
with Tallinn too.
It would be torture if Mariner and Boimler had to do this all the time. They would hate it, and they would hate each other. But these two, no, it's okay because of their dynamic.
Okay. Good. Just wanted to make sure there.
They're going to fix that shuttle till the end of time.
Right. Exactly. That might just be their happy place. Like, they like their relationship may just work out, and then they just choose to go do that in their free time. That's just what they do together,
It's their little hangout spot.
Yeah, I could see that. What else, Alan?
Oh, well, I mean, I capitalism is the enemy. Who'd have thought?
It's a very Star Trek message if there was
what
one.
What a prescient message for this season of Lower Decks.
Yeah.
But yeah, I loved the end. Wordplay. Boimler and Mariner almost get thrown into a cryptocurrency.
Oh, in LA, we have the crypto.com arena, and we call it the crypt.
There you go.
Uh-huh.
Our local arena here is getting renamed in a year, and they're trying to figure out what to call it now. And I'm like, none of these ideas are good, guys. It's manufactured. You can't make up a nickname.
Yeah, exactly.
Doesn't go well.
Otherwise, I just want to say, love all of the animated series references.
Yes.
Hell yeah.
Oh my God. Wait. Yes, Kirk is a jerk. You
Oh!
got it. Brilliant.
Oh,
Brilliant.
Yep.
fantastic.
Had to represent.
And here's what I love. And I already mentioned it, but I'll reiterate. It's like it's not just that the references happen. They happen on a scale that just feels like they exist, and it's not shining big spotlight on it like, "Oh my God, hey TAS fans, guess what? We're throwing you a bone this week." Like, no. These are all like from the ship design. See also to and by the way, the TOSR, the TOS remastered version of an Orion ship, also seen in Shades of Green. Really appreciated that. But I did, when I went back and rewatched the Pirates of Orion, and I was talking with my mom, saying like, "Is this a Shatner thing? Like getting pronunciations wrong again because he's Canadian? I don't know. Don't come at me, Canadians." But we're trying to figure out like who got it wrong and then who kept it up, keeping it wrong.
Yeah.
There was a longtime farm reporter on WGN radio named Orion Samuelson, so it does exist.
Okay. By the way, in that episode, Kirk also has a line about sabotage, and I swear he splits the difference between sabotage and sabotage.
Yeah.
It's not quite either one. So he was taking direction at some point. But all that was great. I was really keeping an eye on the design of the blues, of the Azure Orions. They nailed it. They got it 100% right. The voices were also, they weren't the same, but they were appropriately terrible.
Yes. I think it might have even been Chris from earlier mentioned on our Discord that they reminded him of Batman 66 flunkies.
Yes.
And I was like, yes, there is that. And because the animated series was Filmation, there's a little bit of, that kind of level of cartoonishness to them too.
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
Yep. Oh, it was just all handled so well. Oh, and by the way, because we didn't do the name game here, talking about Shades of Green, before we went on the air, Shar and I were talking, and I said, okay, so you have the obvious Orion reference, because they are literally different shades of green. Then you have the TNG reference, Shades of Gray, obviously, the much beloved episode of TNG to close out that second season, the best episode of TNG ever made. And then, but you also have green as in money. You have the shades of green in the money. And by the way, Alan, this is for you. The former military resort at Disney World was Shades of Green.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I saved that one just for you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right. Well, anything else before we say goodnight and welcome on our last caller?
I will just say that for the first episode with all of its doubles, I think there's going to be one more that we haven't seen yet. Where is William Boimler?
Ooh, are we going to get like Boimler squared? Cube, maybe?
Boimler cube.
Oh my.
Very nice.
Fantastic.
All right,
Have
man.
a good one.
Thank you, Alan. Take care.
Bye,
We'll
buddy.
see you next time, I hope.
Absolutely.
Be good. All right. And
Wouldn't it have been hilarious if they did Shades of Green, but it's the clip show of Lower Decks?
I see, when I saw the title, I expected that. I really did.
Like they would, but no, they wouldn't. Thank goodness. But
I wasn't disappointed that they didn't do that, but I fully would have been okay. If they had done that, I'd been like, oh yeah, okay, they're gonna do this. Yeah.
I mean, I guess we only get 10 episodes, so they really don't have the time to do it. But if they did, that is what they would do with the clip show.
I think so. Exactly. Yeah. Did they? Now wait a minute. They did do an episode. Was it in the second season where they kind of did a clip show? It was like a show of callbacks, but it was all stuff that obviously is created for that because it's an animated show. You don't really have...
Oh, sure. Yeah. Was that second season? I don't remember.
I think
now.
it was. Somebody will know. They'll
Somebody
drop it
knows in the
text,
chat.
for
Please tell
sure.
us.
It's been a while. I need to go back and rewatch that show. It's very dense. There's a lot going on. So, excellent. By the way, we're going to go to our last caller, but there may still be a little bit of time. So if you haven't called us and you want to slip in your comment, please do. We will still be here up until the top of the hour. Might even stay just a minute longer if we need to. But let us welcome to the show, Cherie. Cherie, how are you?
Hey, I'm all right.
Representing as you do from the Cerritos.
Yes, I am. I'm not done fighting for more seasons. I refuse to accept that this is the end. No, I will continue to fight.
Cerrito strong. Yeah.
I was just saying the other day that Lower Decks is a show that I think from the description way back when, think before it premiered, there were a lot of Star Trek fans who felt, I don't know, adult comedy, half hour, animated. This is not for me. All right. Fast forward a couple of years, Larry at STLV asking his whole audience, what show were you most nervous about? Which show did you not care about? For everybody raised their hand with Lower Decks. And then unanimously, when he asked, what show is now your favorite out of all the current Trek, Lower Decks, unanimous. Every hand went up. So it had the most to overcome in perception and now has won over damn near everybody.
See, I feel extra smug there, though, because the second I saw the trailer, I was like, oh, yeah.
There you go.
I am on board. On board.
You wear that extra smug proudly. Please do.
When Mariners sing the Blast Shield song, yeah, I'm like, oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we had a double dose tonight, so what did you think, Cherie?
So much. I'm gonna try to get through it all.
Okay.
I did want to comment on what you were saying with Tendi and Rutherford. Like I think it's consensual because Tendi knew that they worked on the model together. She explained that to Rutherford when he forgot. He's like,
right.
why are all these weird directions? He's like, oh yeah, because we didn't really mean to finish. We just liked working on it together. And I 100% get that. Because I actually recently read a book where a couple spend time on a beach doing nothing. And I talked to my boyfriend about it, and we both agreed that is our mutual nightmare, and we would never want to do that. It sounds horrible. We have to be doing something. We love spending time together, but if we were doing nothing,
yeah, right. That's a good point. That's a very good point. I love that. Okay. What else?
And I am on the Tallins from somewhere else bandwagon. I do think that they probably would have agreed if that's the case, because both the Tallins are very logical and they're like, this needs to happen, and also scientific research.
Yes.
What's the tell? Because
when she said remarkable and then said it was a joke, but was it?
Exactly.
Okay.
Because it wasn't Mariner did switch. And like I said, I think for them it would be consensual. I can totally see. I don't think the other Tallinn was bad. I think it's just they would be like scientific research, and this other crew seems to maybe need me. So
all right, fair. I
actually
took it
kind of hope
as
it's not, though, because I do love Tallinn's character, and I feel like that would take away from her character growth. Because if it was a different Tallinn, then we get our other Tallinn back, and then it'd be like, but then she didn't have this. We didn't get to see her journey. So
I took that moment as Spock telling a joke, but not letting you know that he's telling a joke, or Seven of Nine telling a joke, but never ever letting you know that she's telling a joke. So I kind of saw it as that. I would also be very satisfied if it turns out that they switched and they have a plan. So we'll just see what happens. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see. I actually kind of hope more for the joke thing, like I said, because I feel like the character journey would be better for it, but I could totally see them going the other direction. I do think Bearded Boimler is actually secretly evil. I think he's better at masking it than the other Mariner, but it makes sense to me because he said the other Mariner trusted him, and why would she trust him if they didn't think similarly?
Good point.
Good point.
So is she training him to be really evil?
And I also wonder if maybe he's responsible for sending Captain Freeman, the other Captain Freeman, to Starbase 80. Maybe there was some plot, and it was all Bearded Boimler and we'll find out in the end.
Oh,
Maybe the season
okay.
finale is going to be with like the other crew again, and we'll find out that Bearded Boimler is actually a terrible person.
Oh my God. Okay.
Oh,
This would be
loving
great.
this.
Yes. Love this.
And then like I also thought I have two theories about Starbase 80. Either it is a bad place and Bearded Boimler is responsible for sending the other Captain Freeman there, or I don't think they ever established that it is a bad place in the other universe. They just made an assumption based on their own universe. So what if it's actually a really good place, and the Freeman in the universe we're used to is always trying to promote and everything? So if it's like a really good place, it could be like, what happens if Freeman actually gets that thing that she claimed that she wanted for so long? What happens to the rest of her crew? You know?
I like that. I
What
like
if
that a
Starbase
lot.
80 is really lovely? I like this idea. Like, it's got a
love
bad
this.
reputation, but the people who know that it's awesome there.
No. I mean, like in the other universe, it's actually like
Sure.
a good
Okay,
thing.
yeah.
Like it's actually seen as like an honor. Like, you got sent to Starbase 80, you're an admiral there, and that's where all the admirals go. It's admin or whatever.
Okay.
It's kind of like that Starfleet convalescent planet where like everybody was really well taken care of, and it was kind of cool. But Starbase 80, it's the Starbase 80 conspiracy. I love this. What you're cooking up. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Any other kind of final observations? And we have one more caller tonight who we will say hi to.
I think I managed to get through all of them. Yay!
Wonderful.
I'll let Mark go on.
Always love your contribution, Cherie. Can't wait to see you again. Take care.
Sarcastic broken salute.
See you later.
All right. Bye. All right. And finally, wrapping up the show tonight, let us welcome Mark. Mark gave you a mention earlier about Bondatory and then switching over to BSG, and glad to see your face here. What is on your mind?
Oh, I just wanted to come in. I haven't watched the episodes per se, but I just wanted to come in and talk a little bit about how I've always enjoyed how Star Trek has started to peel back the Orion culture.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, certainly.
Yes.
Because a matriarchal-led society in Star Trek is really quite interesting, because it's something that outside of the Orions, we don't see it too much in Star Trek, and it's just an interesting thing where it causes troubles in Enterprise with their pheromones that they mention, and they kind of peel it back a little bit and then toss it. In the original series they run into it, and then Star Trek Online they have a lot with the Orions. I think it's kind of neat that with having a Orion character as such a central character with Lower Decks, you really get to push back against some of the more pirate claims. And Tendi even shows that part of her family was a scientist, and they mentioned that when they did the crossover with Strange New Worlds, and when they did the live action where Baumler and the other one came, Mariner came over, and the Orions were like, finally somebody who recognizes a scientist. And because I think it, with it being a matriarchal society and talking about post-scarcity and other things, you really only get where they show up a couple of times, you really only get this little bit of things. And I think, it's really nice for a chance that we get to see this. And I mean, we see more. I haven't watched season 3 or 4, but the Orions show up a little bit as well in the Emerald Hand and that series in the 31st Century version. And so it's been the new series that's really had a chance to do it. And it's always nice when Star Trek is willing to go back to not necessarily an enemy, but a race that has been in the background or has appeared as a villain, and they switch archetypes because it's the really fits into the archetype of the infinite diversity and infinite possibilities. Because just because they're choosing to do this doesn't necessarily mean that they want to do this. And with even though we don't know what'll happen between now and the 31st century, Tendi coming in and being Ryan, we see that we have more chance. And they even have a throwback to that with the Calvin timeline, where we see that there's at least 2, if not 3 Calvin timeline Orion women in Star Trek. Though one of them, of course, we see with Kirk sleeping with one, and then of course, but we do see that there. So it's interesting to see. I would love to see if they're going to do it, if they're picking different races that are do pirates. I'd love to see them, even though there's only 8 episodes left. I'd like to have them change some minds on Nausicaans maybe, and have a poet Nausicaan who doesn't like fighting or drinking, but does like poetry, but the poetry's so bad it's like Vogon poetry from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy or something.
I love what you're saying, Mark, and I love the sentiment, because I feel like Star Trek sometimes, they need to pick and choose their battles. They need to pick and choose who they're going to explore. Carlos said it very well here. The Breen, the Breen we only got a taste of in DS9, and then we really got to develop them in the last season of Discovery. And I thought that, wait, am I saying that? Wait, yeah, it was in Discovery. And they did that very well, I thought. Other things you can talk about with the plot, please feel free. But I thought what we got of the Breen was very good. And sometimes too much exploration like that tends to fall apart. You get a little too much Klingons, where you just where it's just too much. But when you can find the nuance and subtlety and make them really come alive, then that's a really satisfying thing. 100% Lower Decks has done that with the Orions, and I think plays in very well with the further exploration they're getting. Strange New Worlds, Kelvin Timeline, etc. Well said, Mark. Really appreciate it. We're going to wrap things up so we can say goodnight to everyone. And I hope we see you again next week. And I hope people join you for Bondatory next week, Monday at 6 in our Discord. So take care.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
All right. Have a good one. Shar, did you get everything out that you needed to say about these two?
Well, one final thing.
All
We
right, you
didn't
got
talk
one
at
final
all
thing.
about the intro, because of course every season there's new things.
Yes.
And this, I really appreciate, they knew this was the final season, so they threw in as much into that battle frame as they possibly could, including V'ger.
You get V'ger, you get the hand of Apollo, you get the Tholians, the web. Oh my God!
Yeah, and the whale probe is still there, so they
Whale
didn't
probe is still
sacrifice
there.
that. Like, just well done. You really did throw in the kitchen sink.
I may be wrong, and somebody please let me know, but I think there is another Borg cube firing on the Borg cube way in the background.
I think there is, but yeah, it's been a few days now, and so I'm going to have to go back and watch that again just to be sure.
They really need to do a poster of that. They just say,
please.
The ultimate final end of season 5. Everybody, yeah.
The Lower Decks posters, the season posters, are just so incredibly well done. But I would take that one too.
Yes. All right. Well, with that, thank you, by the way, Shar. That was a lot of fun, and we will do it again sometime. Mission Log Live is produced by Roddenberry Entertainment. Technical production on Mission Log and Mission Log Live by the involatile Earl Green. Be sure to visit podcast.roddenberry.com for the latest from Roddenberry Podcasts. If you'd like to support Mission Log directly, give us a look at patreon.com/missionlog. Thank you again to my guest co-host tonight, Charlene Schmidt. Thanks to everyone who joined us live or later. We look forward to seeing all of you for more Lower Decks next week.
This is a Roddenberry podcast. For more great podcasts, visit podcast.roddenberry.com.